Moving on to other infectious disorders, that is osteomyelitis. Again, the most common organism of all age group is Staphylococcus organism. Remember, the same organism was also there in septic arthritis, that is Staphylococcus aureus. Even in osteomyelitis, the organism remains same. And this is a condition which is very common in children, okay, which is very common in children. And the most commonest site, remember, this is again the most important question, you'll get it. The most commonest site of osteomyelitis is metaphysis of long bones in children. As I mentioned earlier, this is a condition you'll see in children. So here the metaphysis of the long bones is getting affected, that is the lower end of the femur first, then the upper end of the tibia. So most commonly the lower end of femur is getting affected. So site of osteomyelitis is lower end of the femur, that is a metaphysis of the bone, commonly seen in children, and it is due to Staphylococcus aureus. Which is the most common site in adults. Okay, as I told, osteomyelitis is in children, so the site will be lower end of the femur. If it is the most common site in adults, if it is in adults, the site is thoracolumbar spine. Remember, this is slight changes. In children, it is our lower end of femur, whereas in adults, it is thoracolumbar spine. What is the mode of infection? The most common mode of infection for osteomyelitis is hematogenous. Okay, it's a hematogenous. What are the hallmarks of osteomyelitis? Hallmark of osteomyelitis, you need to remember two important points. One is the sequestrum and then is the involucrum. So what is sequestrum? Sequestrum is nothing but after an infection, there is a necrosis or the dead piece of the bone. Okay, that is called a sequestrum, and this sequestrum is most common cause of non-healing sinus in chronic osteomyelitis. As I told, once the bone is osteomyelitis, infection of the bone, over a period of time, the chronic infection, the bone gets dead. There is necrosis, the whole bone is falling into pieces, and this becomes a source for an non-healing sinus. There is opening that occurs, that is blind opening, and that is non-healing sinus. Okay, so remember, the hallmark of osteomyelitis is a sequestrum. Coming to involucrum. What is involucrum? It is a periosteal new bone around the necrotic sequestrum. Now the dead piece of, because of chronic infection, there is necrosis of the bone is falling apart. At that area, a new bone forms there. And that new bone formation is called as involucrum. Okay, periosteal new bone is involucrum. So these are the two important hallmarks of osteomyelitis. And the most common malignancy seen in chronic osteomyelitis is squamous cell carcinoma. Remember, the malignancy which you see in osteomyelitis will be, that is a chronic osteomyelitis, is squamous cell carcinoma. Here, the point to be noted will be, it is by Staphylococcus organism aureus. In commonest site in children is lower end of femur, whereas in adults it is thoracolumbar spine. And you know, the mode of infection is hematogenous spread. And not to forget the sequestrum and the involucrum.